So, good evening and welcome to our Gita class. Let me first look and make sure that we are actually live and audible. Yes, it looks like we are. Okay, let me turn this down. And good. Okay, so let me begin with the chant as usual. Om Parathaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshiniam Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Amba Tvam Anusandadhami Bhagavad-Gita Bhavadveshinim Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam. So again, welcome to the Gita class. We will start from verse 25 in chapter 10. Last class, the recording suddenly stopped in the middle of the class, but we made it up to verse 25, so we'll continue from there today. So again, this is the chapter 10, the Vibhuti Yoga Nama Dashamodhyayaha, that is the 10th chapter, known as the chapter on Vibhutis, the divine manifestations. Vibhuti, of course, can also mean like special powers, psychic powers, siddhis. But here it doesn't mean that. It means special manifestations of the divine here in the visible world, that which we can see, that which we can experience, we ordinary people. So again, the generation of this present chapter was Arjuna's question in the middle of the chapter, which we've already covered, for ways in which to think of Sri Krishna. For a person like him who is not a yogi with a supersensuous vision, how can I think of you, O Krishna? In what ways can I see you? In what ways can I see you manifested? And so again, Sri Krishna begins by speaking of his manifestations here in the visible, the sensate world, the conceivable, the visible world. And as I have explained in previous classes, at least the previous two classes on this topic, the generation of the question is, first of all, as I said, Arjuna is not able to see the divine as it is, so he wants a way to think of it, to meditate on it. And then Sri Krishna begins to tell him of all of the excellences in every class of being, that he is the best in every class, or that is, he can be thought of in terms of the best in every class. The divine being is everything, from the highest to the lowest. But when we think of the most excellent in any class, we find a special manifestation of excellence, of power, of beauty, and those are all attributes of the divine being. And so, as I've said before, that's why Sri Ramakrishna would go of his own accord to see people great in any field, whether it was Vidyasagar, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, who is a great man of learning and of philanthropy, or whether it was the great Veena player that he wanted to hear, whose name I don't think we know, I don't know, and great spiritual people as well. That's why he went to see Keshav Chandra Sen, because he was a famous religious orator, religious preacher of the time, the most famous of the time, who had met the Queen herself, which was in British India the ultimate sign of greatness, of worldly greatness. And so Sri Ramakrishna would say, wherever you find a special manifestation of greatness or power, there you find a special manifestation of the Divine Mother. And so the same idea here, that Sri Krishna is specially manifest in every form of greatness. And so he begins telling the different ways in which he can be thought of. And so now we come to verse 25, which says, Maharshinam Briguraham Giram Asmyekam Aksharam Yajnanam Japa Yajñosmi Stavaranam Himalayah. So Maharshinam Briguraham, among the Maharshis, that is the great rishis. There were the rishis of the Vedas, the Vedic period, the rishis, the great sages, also known as Kavi, which literally means poet, but the poets were understood to be those who had subtle vision into reality. They weren't just wordsmiths, but people who had special vision into the nature of reality, were the rishis. And among the rishis, there were the maharshis, the great rishis, those who were the greatest. And of the rishis, the greatest was oftentimes considered to be Bhrigu. Bhrigu, whose story is told in the Taittiriya Upanishad, the third and last chapter of the Taittiriya Upanishad, the chapter known as Bhrigu Valli, the chapter on Bhrigu, which tells the story of Bhrigu going to his father and asking him to teach him, Adhihi Bhagavo Brahmeti, teach me, O revered sir, O father, teach me the knowledge of Brahman. And so then his father begins a graduated process of teaching him how to attain to illumination, ending with Bhrigu's illumination, the highest illumination, where he sings a song of ecstasy, ecstatic union with reality itself. Ha-o, 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 ahamannam, 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 ahamannado, ahamannado. Hanamannada Haggam Shloka Krida Hagga Shloka Krida Hagga Shloka Krita. And it goes on like that. But first, that Ha'u is just a sound of ecstatic bliss that he experiences on attaining to illumination. And he says, I am the food, meaning the food of the senses, the object. All of this is me. Ahamannado, I am the eater of the food. That is, I am the subject. I am all of the subjective universe. I am the subject who knows the universe. And Hagga Shlok, I am that which unites the two. So I am the objective universe, I am the subjective universe, and I am that which underlies both subject and object. And then he goes on singing his song of ecstasy. So Bhrigu was a great sage of the highest illumination. And Bhargava, the lineage of those who are descended from Bhrigu Rishi, is a very important lineage in the Hindu tradition. So then he says, Giram asmyekam aksharam. Giram, of speech. I am the one syllable. Of speech, I am the single syllable. But what is that single syllable? Ek aksharam. It is Omkara. I am Om, the single syllable Om. Because out of Om, this whole universe has come. Om is the most universal of all symbols. Gayatri, the most sacred prayer in Hinduism, which he says he is the Gayatri here also, not in this verse, another verse. Gayatri is a universal prayer and the most sacred prayer in Hinduism. And Om is the most sacred symbol in Hinduism, and it is the most universal of all religious symbols in the world. You can't find in any tradition a symbol which is more universal than Om. You find the idea of Om in all great religious traditions, but you find it expressed as a vocable, as a pronounceable syllable only in the Hindu, Buddhist, Sikh traditions and Jain traditions of Om, the sacred syllable Om. Why is it the most universal symbol of all symbols, and therefore the greatest symbol of Sri Krishna himself, meaning of the divine being itself? Because the whole universe has come out of Om. Om is the anahata dhvani, the unstruck sound. Every sound comes by setting up a vibration. A sound is a vibration, and vibration is caused by a striking, like that. The striking of my hands, the striking of air against my vocal cords, etc. I have to remember not to do that. Every time I do that, it resets the audio, and then we get audio problems. So I have to remember not to clap my hands in front of the microphone, at least. So let me see if I can reset it. Okay, that's a little better. So Om is the unstruck sound. When there's only the non-dual reality, how do you get duality? There's no two things to strike. Don't worry, I'm not going to do it now. I don't forget that soon. How do you get a sound which comes from two things being struck? The only way to get it is from the first creative impulse from the divine being, which is Om, the unstruck sound, Anahata Dhvani, the unique sound. In Zen Buddhism, you have the koan. What is the sound of one hand clapping? The sound of one hand clapping is Om. And so Om is that out of which the universe comes, and so the whole universe is Om, and everything within it is Om. But Om, because it's the first impulse coming from the divine being, it's a symbol of God. So Om means the universe, Om means God, and Om also means the impersonal reality. The impersonal reality, Brahman. So it's Brahman, it's Ishvara, and it's the universe. Outside of these three things, is there anything? No, there's nothing. So Om represents everything, the totality of reality. And so Giram Asmyekam Aksharam. Among sounds, among speeches, among elements of speech, I am the one syllable Om. And then Yajnanam Japa Yajñosmi. Among sacrifices, yajñas, among sacrifices, I am Japa Yajña, the sacrifice of Japa. I'm the sacrifice of Japa. So the idea here is that of sacrifices, again, remember that this was from when it was written down, we don't know, but the ideas in the Gita and the Mahabharata are from the late Vedic period. And so the Vedic period was a period of yajna, a sacrificial religion, in which all sorts of sacrifices were performed, very great, elaborate sacrifices that only a wealthy king could perform, and then the ordinary daily sacrifice that even a poor householder could perform every day, of making an offering into the household fire. And so sacrifice was the nature of the religion, and the universe itself was seen as a sacrificial, as we see in Sri Krishna's universalizing of the idea of sacrifice in the 3rd and 4th chapters of the Gita. And here he's saying that of all of the sacrifices possible, I am the Japa Yajna. Why? The traditional explanation is that Madhusudana and others give is that in some sacrifices there were the killing of animals was prescribed for performing a sacrifice. In the Ashwamedha, the killing of a horse, and other sacrifices where there was killing involved. But in Japa Yajna, there's no killing of anything. And so it's for that reason that it's the greatest yajnas. But I don't think that that is enough to make it the greatest of yajnas, because there were other sacrifices which didn't involve killing. So there has to be something more. That's a very unsatisfying explanation to me. But a satisfying explanation, I think, is that Japa Yajna is the most internal. And Japa Yajna is just merging yourself in the stream of sound and in the stream of sacred sound and following the mantra to its source in reality itself. And it's because, as Holy Mother used to say in Sanskrit, one of the few things that she knew in Sanskrit, Japat Siddhi, from Japa, perfection. That is, perfection comes just from the practice of repetition of a mantra. So that it's the most internal. We don't need any external paraphernalia. We don't need vessels. We don't need to build an altar. We don't need to construct a sacred fire. We don't need ghee and other things to offer into the fire. There's no external thing necessary. We don't even need a japa mala, though that is used by many. We don't even need to count on our fingers, though that's done by many. All we need is to the purely internal repetition of the mantra over and over and over again until we absorb ourselves in the stream of the mantra, which rises from the heart into reality itself, and to follow that into its source, which is the divine being itself. Because, again, as Holy Mother used to say, Nam Nami Abhed. Nam Nami Abhed. Abhed, there's no difference between the Nam, the name, the mantra, and the Nami, the one who is named, that is God. And so through the mere repetition of a mantra with devotion and absorbing ourselves in that, we can attain to perfection. So it's a great promise given to us that that is enough to take us to liberation. So among sacrifices, I am japa. And Stavaranam Himalaya, of the immovables, Stavaranam, of the immovables, I am the Himalaya. Already he had said in an earlier verse that among Shikaranam, among peaks, I am Meru. That is the axis of the universe. Meru may be and is a mythological mountain. There's not an actual peak which is known as Meru. It was considered to be the axis of the world, like the pole around which the world spins, around which the heavens spin. So among peaks, I am Meru. The most important of the peaks, though it may be mythological, it is part of the sacred configuration of sacred geometry in the Hindu tradition. But here, among immovables, I am Himalaya, the Himalaya chain of mountains. So among peaks, Meru, and among immovables, I am the Himalaya. Why is it that we go to the Himalayas to practice spiritual disciplines? We go there on pilgrimage, we go there on retreat, we go there to experience the extraordinary beauty of the Himalayas, because just by seeing them we feel uplifted. Just by seeing the Himalayas, the mind is uplifted by the grandeur of the mountains and by their utter stillness. They're not moving. Our minds are constantly moving. Our breath is constantly coming in and out. The body is constantly in motion. The mind is constantly in motion. The prana is constantly in motion. But we look at the Himalaya and suddenly we get an image of perfect stillness, perfect stability, the unmoving Himalaya. And we feel inspired by that vision. Just as when we go to the ocean, as he says elsewhere, that among bodies of water, natural bodies of water, I am the ocean. We go to the ocean and we feel the same thing, just limitless expanse of water. Water and without end, as far as we can see, water, nothing else there. And so the mind is calmed by that. And by the Himalaya, the mind is silenced. So, and again, that's the basic idea in all of these excellences, these vibhutis, these divine manifestations of God, is that by looking at the most excellent, then we feel awestruck, but not in the sense of fear-struck, not that sense of awe, but just the mind becomes still. And so when we hear a most beautiful piece of music, even a very crude person, a very crude and violent person, if they hear an excellent piece of music, suddenly they become soft, they become gentle, they become receptive. So when we go to the ocean, suddenly we feel expanded, we feel an expanded existence. When we look at the Himalayas, we feel uplifted and we feel the mind becomes naturally silent, just looking at these immovable, beautiful mountains. We could go here in Houston, there are no hills, except for a few artificial hills nearby, and parks here, there's some artificial hills. We could go and look at them. And no, they're nice. I go over and ride the bicycle up them. That's nice, but we don't feel inspiration. So when we look at the Himalaya, then we're seeing the greatest of all of the mountains on earth. And so again, by looking at the greatest of something in a category, we find that presence and power of God specially manifest. We could go to bodies of water. We could, here in front of the ashram, there's a collection pool of water to make up for the removal of absorbent dirt by putting our parking lot in the building. We had to make up for it in Houston because we're subject to floods by leaving a catchment pond. So I could just go and look at the catchment pond. But no, I don't feel any special inspiration there. Or I could go over here to the park and look at the lake. That's nice, but there's no comparison to the ocean. And so again, when we come to the greatest manifestation in any class, we feel inspired. We feel the presence of the divine being. So among the great sages, I am Bhrigu. Among utterances, I am the single syllable Om. Among sacrifices, I am the sacrifice of japa, the repetition of a mantra. And of immovables, I am the Himalaya, the range of the Himalayas. And then verse 26 goes on. Ashvattha sarva vrikshanam devarshinam cha naradaha gandharvanam chitraratha siddhanam kapilo munihi. So, sarva vrikshanam ashvattha. I am ashvattha, the ashvattha tree among all of the trees. Among all of the trees, I am ashvattha. That which is the eternal tree, the ashvattha tree, the great tree of the Indian tropics. So among the trees, I am the ashvattha. Later in the Gita, chapter 15, Purushottama Yogo Nama Panchadashodhyaya. In the 15th chapter, known as Purushottama Yoga, the yoga of the Supreme Person, Sri Krishna says that the Ashvattha, the universe itself, is an Ashvattha tree. Let's see. That's Krishna. Oh, and I know it now. I can't think of it right now in the midst of talking about other. But the first 5 verses of the 15th chapter describe the universal Ashvattha tree. So among the trees, I am the Ashvattha, the people tree, as it's also called. Devarshi nam cha naradaha. Among the Devarshis, I am Narada. So Devarshi means those who were gods, who were not ordinary human beings, but who were divine beings, but who also became sages. So Narada was one of those. He was a Devarshi. He was a divine being, a Chiranjeev, one who lives eternally, who never has no death. But he became a Vedic seer, a great sage. And so among the Devarshis, I am Narada, the most famous and the greatest of the Devarshis. So Narada, in later Puranic lore, Narada became a troublemaker. So when I was in the Ganges monastery in Michigan, Swami Bhashyanandaji, the head of the monastery, he gave one of the brahmacharyans the name Narada because the brahmacharyan used to play the guitar. And we all thought that was a great name. It sounds nice, Narada, and he's a great sage. But then an Indian devotee came, one who's now one of our swamis in India, but at that time he was a student in Toronto. He's presently the head of our Lucknow center, Sujit Maharaj. He had come for a visit, and we told him, oh, his new name is Narada. And so he started laughing and said, oh, Swami Bhashyanandaji must have been joking. He said, no, he wasn't joking. He called him Narada because he's a musician. And then he explained that Narada is a big troublemaker in Hindu lore. But as the Puranas and stories have it, Narada would cause all kinds of complications for people, but somehow the complications would always work out to a good end, but putting people through endless trouble to get to that good end. So this was before that legend about Narada had been developed in the Puranas, because again, the Gita, the Mahabharata is pre-Puranic. And so among the Devarshis, I am Narada, who is not yet a troublemaker. And Gandharvanam Chitraratha. Among the Gandharvas, the celestial musicians, I am Chitraratha, the chief of the celestial musicians. So again, Sri Ramakrishna, when he heard that a great Veena player had come to Calcutta, he wanted to go and listen to his music. And of course, when he heard it, he went into ecstasy. So I, Sri Krishna, I, God, am the best among the Gandharvas, who is known as Chitraratha, the great celestial musician. So, of course, the question comes naturally to us modern people. Well, the Gandharvas, that's a mythological class of being. These are celestial musicians, but where do we see celestial musicians? No, we shouldn't think that all of these things are just mythology in the sense of being false. Do you think that the divine being has exhausted its creativity in this physical world? No, that's impossible. The infinite Lord of beings, the infinite master of the universe, has exhausted its creativity, his and hers, its creativity in this physical world? No, impossible. There are various worlds of higher and higher subtlety and beauty. And so there are worlds and there are other beings as well. This universe seems so solid and real to us. No, it shouldn't be. All we have to do is some meditation and we begin to see that this world is not as solid and real and heavy as it seems to be. This world is just an appearance. I go to sleep at night and the world disappears. I wake up in the morning and the world appears. That itself shows that this world is just a condition of my mind. This world only appears when my mind is in a certain condition, and it disappears when the mind is in another condition. And in that other condition, I may see other types of beings who dwell, including the Gandharvas, the celestial musicians. And so that's why you get in different traditions the idea of angels and celestial beings, gods and goddesses, and the sports of gods and goddesses. Because this universe doesn't exhaust the creative potential of the infinite being, infinitely creative, infinitely beautiful. This world is just a lowly representative of that creative potential. In one sense, this is the greatest world because it's here that we can work out our liberation. In celestial spheres, there's such refined enjoyment that we forget about liberation. We just want to enjoy the extraordinary beauty. But here, because there's a mixture of beauty and ugliness, pleasure and pain, we want to work our way through it. And eventually we take up spiritual life, and eventually we work our way out into liberation. So this world, in that sense, is the greatest of worlds because it gives us a chance for liberation, but certainly is not the most exquisite and beautiful of the worlds. So among the Gandharvas, I am Chitraratha, Siddhanam Kapilo Munihi. Among the perfected sages, the Siddhas, I am Kapila, the Muni, the sage Kapila. Kapila was the greatest of the sages, who was the first philosopher, as Swami Vivekananda used to say, the first philosopher of the world, not just of India, but the first philosopher of the world, long before the Greeks became philosophical. Philosophy means what? Philosophy, as opposed to mythological thinking, is, or poetic thinking, is looking into the nature of things and giving expression to it in universal terms, which doesn't require the belief in a mythological story about what the universe is. That is, a philosopher can explain their philosophy to a person of any culture in universal terms, so that a person with sufficient education in philosophical thinking can understand what it is they're talking about. And so whether we study Indian philosophy or Chinese philosophy or Greek philosophy or modern Western philosophy, if we have a mind which is sharp enough, we can understand all of those philosophies because they're expressed in universal terms, not in terms of great mythological beings who battled for possession of the universe and who created this and created that. No, just in terms of logical principles, what logical principles explain the experience of this universe. So Kapila was the first philosopher who explained the universe in universal, philosophical, non-mythological, non-poetic terms. And so among the perfected souls, I am Kapila, the greatest, because he was the first, he was the greatest of philosophers. And even in Vedanta philosophy, which is not a follower of Sankhya, but it's internalized most of the principles of Kapila, which became embodied in the Sankhya philosophy, a competing philosophy. But Vedanta absorbed the contributions of Kapila Muni. So among the trees, I am the Ashwatha, or people tree, and Narada among the divine sages. Among the Gandharvas, I am Chitraratha. Among the Siddhas, the perfected ones, I am the sage Kapila. Then verse 27 says, Uchaishravasam ashwanam vidhimam amritodbhavam airavatam gajendranam naranam chanaradhipam. So Uchaishravas ashwanam, among ashwas, among horses, I am Uchaishravasa. Uchaishravasa was the celestial horse who came out of the sea of nectar, the sea of Amrita, when the gods and demons, the devas and the asuras, wanted to get the nectar of immortality. Then they churned the ocean of nectar. And out of that came a number of divine gifts, and one of them was Uchaishravas, the celestial horse. So among all of the horses, I am that, the best of the horses, the celestial horse itself. So that can be seen as sort of the ideal horse, of which the manifested horses are just a reflection. And Vidimam Amritodbhavam, know me as having come out of the ocean of Amrita, the ocean of nectar, as Uchaishravas, among horses. And Airavatam Gajendranam, among Gajendras, among the lordly elephants, among the great kingly elephants, I am Airavata, who is the great elephant, mythological elephant, who also was churned out of the ocean by the gods and demons. So among the lordly elephants, I am Airavata, the greatest of the lordly elephants. And Naranam cha Naradhipam, among men, I am the king of men. I am Naradhipam, I am the king of men, among Naranam, among men. So among men, I'm just not one among other men, I am the lord of men. Among elephants, I am the lord of elephants. Among horses, I am the ideal divine horse, Uchaishravas. So again, I am the highest of any class. Then verse 28 says, Ayudhanam aham vajram dhenu namasmi kamadhuk prajanas chasmi kandarpaha sarpanamasmi vasukihi. So Ayudhanam aham vajram. Ayudha, among weapons, I am the Vajra, the thunderbolt. That is the weapon of Indra. So the Vajra, not just the ordinary thunderbolt, I am the Vajra of Indra, the thunderbolt of the king of the gods. So like the Indra is similar to Thor in Norse, whose weapon is also the thunderbolt. And so among weapons, I am the Vajra. Sister Nivedita made a national flag for India. It wasn't accepted as the flag when India became independent. The green, white, and orange flag with the Dharma Chakra in the center became accepted as the national flag. But she had designed a flag that was red, the color of courage. And in the center, a white circle, the color of purity. And then in the center, the two vajras set at perpendicular to each other. So you know the vajra, as you see in Tibetan Buddhism, they use the vajra also. And they even have the Tibetan bell has half of a vajra at the top. And then they use the vajra, a metal vajra, a representation, a symbolic form of the vajra, ritually in Tibetan rituals. And so it was that form of the ritualized Vajra, the symbolic Vajra, that Sister Nivedita put in the center of the flag. Why? Because the Vajra is a symbol of divine power. So one of the reasons why Sister Nivedita came up with this flag, I'm convinced, is I don't see any other reasonable explanation, that she felt that Hinduism needed to become aggressive. By aggressive, she didn't mean going out and knocking people in the head, going out and converting people, going out and forcing itself on other people. No, not aggressive in that sense, but aggressive in the sense of self-confident and knowing, having Shraddha, full faith and conviction in the truth of the Dharma, and knowing that we have a truth to give to the world. Not to force on the world, not aggressive in the sense that missionary religions are aggressive in trying to force their view on others, but aggressive in the sense of not being passive and waiting for the world to come to us, but being full of energy, being full of dynamism. And so, again, on the flag, she had a red background, the color of courage, and the color of Shakti, of the Divine Mother. And then the Vajra, the symbol of divine power. Not worldly power, not muscle power, but the divine power, against a white circle, which is the color of purity. And so it was a wonderful flag with a deep meaning. Of course, the flag which was accepted is also a beautiful flag with a deep meaning, but Nivedita's also. And it took the Vajra as its symbol. So among weapons, I am the Vajra, Dhenu Nam, among the Dhenu, among cows, Asmi Kamadhuk, I am the wish-fulfilling cow. So the wish-fulfilling cow was the cow whose milk never dried up. You could take as much milk from it as you might desire. You could feed an army with the milk of the Kamadhuk. And so among cows, I am the celestial Kamadhuk, the wish-fulfilling cow. And Prajanas Chasmi Gandharpaha, among Prajanas, among progenitors, among procreators. I am Gandharpa, who is Kamadeva, the god of love, the Western Cupid, the Hindu Kamadeva. So among progenitors, among those who procreate, I am the god of love. I am Kamadeva. That is, I am the power itself which drives procreation. And I am the lord of the process itself. Sarpanam asmi Vasukihi. Among Sarpas, I am Vasuki. So in Indian mythology, there are Sarpas and there are Nagas. In the next verse, he'll come to the Nagas, but right now he's talking about Sarpas, these two classifications of mythological serpents. So Sarpa, of course, is the root of the Sanskritic root of the English word serpent, which comes from the Latin, from the Sanskrit through Greek and Latin, maybe Greek, I don't know, but it comes through Latin at least, into English as a serpent, but it originated as Sarpa. So among Sarpas, among serpents, I am Vasuki. So Vasuki was the king of the serpents. Holy Mother used to say that Sharat is my Vasuki. So Sharat is my protecting serpent, the serpent who protects the Lord. Sharat, that is Swami Sharadananda, is my Vasuki. So Vasuki, the king of these, the mythological king of serpents, the universal king, not just a king of a few snakes out in the neighbor's yard, but the Lord of all serpents, Vasuki, I am he among serpents. So Vasuki was the son of Vasaki. Vasaka, I guess it was, Vasaka Vasuki. His mother was named as Vasaka, and he was known as Vasuki, the son of Vasuka. So I am Vasuki. And then the next verse says, Anantas chasmi naganam varuno yadasamaham pitrinam aryama chasmi yama samyamatamaham. Anantas chasmi nagadam. Among Nagas, this other class of snakes, I am Ananta, Anantanag, Sheshnag. Ananta is also known as Shesha, Sheshnag and Anantanag. The great Naga. So the Nagas are very important in Hindu mythology, and they're extremely important in Buddhist mythology as well. So, of course, as you know, Buddhism grew out of Hinduism, and it took a great deal of Hinduism along with it. Many people don't realize that Buddha never negated the gods, and Buddhism never negated the gods. They believe in the gods. That's why in a Buddhist country like Thailand, you find an image of Brahma, Chaturmukhi Brahma, the four-headed Brahma, the creator, in downtown Bangkok, the most popular deity in Thailand, and most visited deity and most visited shrine in Thailand. They didn't deny the gods, they denied that there was one supreme God, Ishvara. But the minor gods they didn't deny. And so they also took the idea of the Nagas. And so Nagarjuna, the greatest philosopher in all of Buddhism and one of the greatest philosophers of the world, the equal of Shankaracharya in the Buddhist world, the full equal of Shankaracharya in the Buddhist world, is a tremendous philosopher. In fact, you can say that Nagarjuna took philosophy as far as philosophy on its own can go. You can't go further than Nagarjuna took. That's why in the Vedanta tradition we say that philosophy by itself cannot establish reality. And therefore the Vedas are needed, because in the Vedas it teaches Tattvamasi, thou art that reality. That's not a logical conclusion, that's an experiential conclusion, which the Vedas teach and give us the disciplines for reaching that experience. But that's not a logical conclusion. It's a spiritual realization. And so Nagarjuna, he went as far as unaided philosophy could go without revelation. And was an extraordinary philosopher. He was the founder of the Shunyavada, or the Madhyamaka philosophy, the philosophy of the middle. Again, he was the greatest of the Buddhist philosophers, the foundational philosopher for the Mahayana, Mahayana Buddhism. So among the Nagas, I am Ananta. I brought up Nagarjuna not just because his name begins with Naga, but because Nagarjuna developed the philosophy of the basic philosophy of Mahayana by giving the meaning, the inner meaning of the Paramita scriptures, the Paramita texts. And it was said in the Buddhist mythology that Nagarjuna got the Paramita texts from the Nagas, who had received the text from the Buddha and then kept it as a treasure at the bottom of the ocean. And so they gave these texts to Nagarjuna, and he revealed them to the world. So yes, I don't think that's a historical story, of course, but it is does show the importance of the Nagas in Buddhist thought. And so if you go to Buddhist countries, including Theravada countries like Cambodia and Thailand, you'll see Naga imagery everywhere. So then Varuno Yarasamaham, and I am Verona among the aquatic creatures, among beings of the water. I am Verona. So Verona, of course, was a Vedic deity who was among other aspects of Verona, he was the lord of the waters, lord of the ocean. And so among aquatic beings, I am the deity, the god Verona. I'm not just a fish, I'm not a minnow, I'm not even a whale. I am Verona himself. Pitrina Maryama Chasmi. Among the Pitris, that is among the forebears, among the forefathers or the forebears, or what in the Roman world were known as the Manes, I am Aryama. Aryama was the chief of the king of the forebears. Aryaman, Aryama, chief of the forebears. So I am he among the forebears. Yama samyamatamaham. And among those who control, that is here meaning control human destiny. Among those who control human destiny, I am Yama. Yama, the god of death. So Yama is the one who comes for us at the end of our life, comes to take us away, the one who controls our karmic destiny. And so Yama is the greatest of the controllers, of those who are samyamis, those who control. I am Yama himself, the god of death. He continues in verse 30, Praladas-chasmi daityanam kala kalayatamaham mriganam cha mrigendroham vainateyascha pakshinam. Praladas-chasmi daityanam. Among the Daityas, a class of demigods, more closer to the demons, I am Prahlad. Prahlad, of course, was the son of Hiranyakashipu, a Daitya, that is a class of demons. And so among those demons, I am Prahlada, because Prahlad was the most sattvic. He was the embodiment of devotion. And even now he is considered to be the ideal devotee, one who lived for God and for God alone, who faced repeated attempts on his life without fear, holding only on to God. Death at the hands of his own father, who wanted him to worship himself and not one of the gods. Hiranyakashipu, as often happened in the Indian lore, had tried to take over the universe itself and become ruler of the universe and set aside the devas, the gods. But Prahlad, from his childhood, he was a worshipper of Vishnu. And so he was the ideal devotee who sought nothing but love for God. And so Swami Vivekananda says that Prahlad's statement of, or his prayer, is the best definition of devotion. And that is, whenever I want to think of something in the midst of another discussion, it doesn't come. But this one I know so well. No, it's not going to come now, unfortunately. Anyway, that intense love which the ignorant bear towards the things of this world, may I have that same Ya pritira vivekanam vishayeshwanapayini twamanusmarata same hridayan mapasarpatu. That intense love which the ignorant bear towards objects of this world, may I have that same intensity of love for thee. So that, Swami Vivekananda says, is the best definition of devotion, that prayer of Prahlad. So among the Daityas, among the demons, I am Prahlada. Kala kalayatamaham. Among the counters, among those who are concerned with parts, taking inventory of parts, kalayatam, kala, I am time. Time is the ultimate measurer. Time is that which measures everything in this universe. The universal measurement of time, moment by moment, kshanam, 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 moment by moment. Time is the greatest of the measurers. And so among the measurers, among those who observe parts of things, that is, who measure parts of things, who inventory parts of things, I am time itself, the greatest of such. And Pitrinam Mariamacha, we're down here. Mriganam cha mrigendroham. And among the animals, mriga can sometimes mean deer, but here mriga means animals in general, generic animals. Among animals, I am mrigendroham. I am the lord of animals. That is, I'm the lion. So in India, they had the same idea as in the West, that the king of the lord of animals, the king of beasts, is the lion, because of course, the lion is at the top of the food chain. And just by its very appearance, by its very nature, it's regal. And so among the animals, I am the lord of beasts. I am the king of beasts, the lion. Vainateyascha pakshinam, and among pakshis, among birds, I am Vainateya. That is, I am Garuda. I am Garuda. So again, of course, you know that Garuda traveled wherever Indian culture went, through Hinduism or through Buddhism. So in Indonesia, of course, their airlines is known as Garuda Airlines. And you see Garuda in Thailand, in Cambodia, in Indonesia, in Bali. So among birds, I am the fabled Garuda. And then it goes on, verse 31. Pavana pavatamasmi Rama Shastra Bhritamaham Jashanam Makaraschasmi Srota Samasmi Jandhavi. So Pavana Pavatamasmi. Pavatam, among the purifiers, I am Pavana, I am the wind. Among the purifiers, I am the wind. So you see, like in Calcutta, Bellarmat, places that nowadays suffer from smog, or in Los Angeles, other places as well. Wind comes up and suddenly it leaves the air clean. It leaves the air and everything clean. It sweeps everything away. And so among the purifiers, I am the wind, the greatest of the purifiers on earth. And Rama, Shastra Bhritamaham, among the holders of weapons, Shastra Bhrit, among the holders of weapons, I am Rama. Not Parashurama, but Rama, Sri Ram. I am Rama, the greatest of the holders of weapons. So Rama holding his bow with his arrows. I am he among those who hold weapons. Because Rama was the Lord of Dharma. Rama was the Dharma avatar, the ideal of Dharma, the embodiment of Dharma, the very image, the one whose very image transmitted Dharma to Indian civilization and continues to do so. The ideal man, the ideal husband, the ideal king, the ideal son, the ideal brother, etc. So among the holders of weapons, I am Rama. Jashanam Makaraschasmi. Among aquatic creatures, before we had aquatic beings of all types, including the Nagas and others, I am Verona, the god of the water, a god of the waters. But among Jashanam, among aquatic creatures, animals, I am Makaraschasmi. I am Makara. So Makara is oftentimes translated as shark, but great, huge, the best of the aquatic creatures. I am the shark or the whale or whatever you could consider that to be, the greatest of the aquatic creatures. And Srotasamasmi Jahnavi, and among currents, I am the Ganga. Among currents, I am the Ganges, the greatest of the rivers. And then verse 32. And after this verse, I'll stop. If there are any questions that I see here, I'll take a question or two. Otherwise, we will conclude. So 32 says, Sarganam adirantascha madhyam chaivaham arjuna adhyatma vidya vidyanam vada pravadatamaham. Sarganam adirantascha madhyam cha eva aham arjuna. O Arjuna, among creations, I myself am the beginning, the middle, and the end. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all creations. To create anything, there's the beginning of creation, there's the middle, and then there's the end of the creation as well, the withdrawal of the creation. And so I am all of that. That is, I am the conditions which make, in which creation itself happens. I am the structure of creation itself, the creative process itself, the beginning, middle, and end of creation. I am the very conditions of creativity itself. And then Adhyatma Vidya, Vidyanam, among knowledges, Vidyas, among the knowledges. I am Adhyatma Vidya. I am self-knowledge, spiritual knowledge. Adhyatma means spiritual and it means self. So among the knowledges, forms of knowledge, I am self-knowledge. Vada pravadatamaham. Among debaters, pravadat, those who debate, I am Vada. Vada is the debate, the argument which seeks to discover the truth. For instance, the discussion between a teacher and disciple, trying to come to an understanding of the truth. So Vada is that type of argument which has as its purpose not defeating the other person, but finding out the truth. And so other types like Jalpa and Vitanda, they have establishing my opinion. Not seeking truth itself, but trying to establish my opinion. Argument for the sake of argument itself. That also Vitanda is sometimes considered that. There are different meanings given to these types of argument. Vitanda sometimes is useless, vain argument, just arguing for the sake of argument, just trying to argument and not trying to posit anything myself. And Jalpa, just trying to posit my view, not because I'm seeking the truth, but because I want to establish my viewpoint. But no. Among debaters, I'm not those types of argument. I am the argument which is seeking truth itself. So that is who I am among those who argue, among those who debate. And so I'll stop here. Let me check to see if there are any questions that have come up. If you're typing any now, I don't see any. I'll wait for just a minute as I give announcements. And if some come up by that time, I will answer them. If not, then we will conclude. So we'll continue next time from verse 33. And in the meantime, on Thursday, we will have the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna class at 11 o'clock in the morning. Next Sunday, this coming Sunday, we will have a lecture. I haven't decided on a topic yet. And then this class will continue next Tuesday. And so our classes and lectures will continue. My own quarantine, mandated quarantine because of my travel, ended today. My 2 weeks of quarantine ended today. And so I'm no longer under mandated quarantine, but we're going to continue for the welfare of all with social distancing and with continuing our lectures and classes only over the internet for now. We won't open for assemblies of people. Starting soon, probably beginning of May, but that I'm not promising, but probably by the beginning of May, we'll let family units, single people or people in family groups, come here if they just want to make pranam in the shrine and spend a few minutes in the shrine. But it won't be for assemblies, not for classes and lectures for some time until the danger of meeting in groups is over. And so when we do open it to people coming in singly or in family groups to make pranam in the shrine, we'll do that by appointment. That is, you can call me and let me know that you're coming, and I will keep the door open for you, and you can come, make pranam, etc. So gradually we will open, but as it is safe for everyone to do. But for now, certainly through May, we will continue with this format of classes and lectures live streamed. And then we will see. So let's see if there's anything here. Yeah, no questions. So we will conclude with a chant, and before the chant, let me say that I wish all of you safety, health, and happiness. May all be happy, may all be well, may all realize that which is good, may all see that which is noble and uplifting. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. That infinite reality is full, perfect, and complete. This relative universe is full, perfect, and complete. From out of the fullness of that infinite being, the fullness of this universe has come, and yet that being remains ever the same. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all the beings of the universe. Good night.